and we're live. You're listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show.
Hosted by Brandon Davenport, aka It's Brandon D.
I killed the intro too soon. I hit the wrong button. Oh man. A lot of people love that song. I feel like I ripped people off on that. Let's jam out to this a little bit. What do you know? I'm just eating a little snack here.
You're listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show.
Hosted by Brandon Davenport, aka It's Brandon D.
Well. Another week in HBAR, Hedera, all that good stuff. Hashgraph. What is Hashgraph? It's a company, it's a technology, it's a lot of things now. We got a lot to talk about today too. I've been, excuse me, apologies folks. I'm a little rusty today. My family's been in town and I was hanging out with family, spending a lot of time out of the office, out of work. So I'm catching up on things, getting things ready to roll. Afternoon. Yeah, this episode, do I change the name of the show? This week I'm going to talk about marketing in the Hedera ecosystem, some really cool things that happen at Karate Combat, and a bunch of other news and everything like that. I mean, why I titled the show this is like last week we talked about the news. Let me just head over to hashgraph.com. Last week we were talking about Swirlds Labs rebranding to Hashgraph. And for those unfamiliar, Swirlds Labs is the company, the dev shop, the organization tasked with developing the Hedera network, maintaining, for example, nodes for certain governing council members, all sorts of different important work. Swirlds Labs is not Swirlds though. Swirlds is a separate company that owns the patent to the Hashgraph algorithm that's, was handed over to Hedera, and Swirlds is what's on the governing council. So Swirlds Labs, not on the governing council. Swirlds on the governing council. Swirlds Labs, no longer called Swirlds. It's called Hashgraph now. And I was talking last week about Swirlds Labs, about Hashgraph, about the big change. And I do think, my thoughts last week were, hey, fresh branding, fresh logo. We've been talking about the need for better marketing in the ecosystem. Objectively, I would say, from what I've seen, Hashgraph is a better brand for Swirlds Labs. I think that, Swirlds doesn't, shared worlds, cool. But I mean, from an ecosystem perspective, it's not very descriptive of what they do and kind of where they're focused. So all is to say, step in the right direction, I would say. But the issue is, and this kind of came to my mind and kind of talking with people in and out of the ecosystem. And the reality here is the word Hashgraph is, I think, a really, really, really important word. And I'll give you an example. And then after we'll get to some ecosystem updates. But Hashgraph is an important word because it's what we use to describe the technology. It's what we use to describe an affiliation to the network. And of course we have the word HBAR, but sometimes it's played out, sometimes it gives the wrong impression, whatever it is. So for me, we look at the name, the name of the show, Hashgraph Enthusiasts, and this question of, do I change the name of the show? The reason I didn't call the show Hedera Enthusiasts, or something like that, was I didn't want to associate the show with a company or an entity or an organization, right? And I also didn't want to call the show, HBAR Enthusiasts, because, this show is a little more about, it's a little meta, right? It's a little more about deep tracks, alpha, getting out into the weeds a little bit. It's not very like surface level. So I'm not talking about the coin a lot. I'm not talking about price action. I'm not probably doing a lot of things I should be doing to get more viewers, but it's not HBAR Enthusiasts. So when I started the show years and years ago, back in, feels like forever ago, back on episode 1, I decided to call it Hashgraph Enthusiasts because, it's about the technology, and also knowing that Hedera isn't going to be the only Hashgraph. As we know, there's going to be other, shared worlds or other private or semi-private or whatever DLTs based on Hashgraph that may operate independently or connect to the mainnet, or all these different types of things. So I never wanted it to be about Hedera. I never wanted it to be about an organization. And so I called it Hashgraph Enthusiasts, right? It's just an enthusiast of the technology, enthusiast of the Hashgraph technology. And I like that energy because it allows me a lot of times to kind of like pull back from, I think sometimes what we can get lost in a little bit, like the hype cycles of crypto, this coin versus that coin, all these different types of things. And sometimes it allows me to kind of get a little higher level, get back to the technology, talk about some of those things, have certain people on. And also it kind of removes certain affiliations and everything like that. I mean, the show is supported by viewers that, send HBAR to a wallet. And, I think that that's the way to go. Also, Bones, shout out. Good morning. Appreciate you tuning in. And so now it's kind of weird because Hashgraph is now a company. And I think that people were joking with me and they were like, hey, is this, Swirlds Labs enthusiasts or Swirlds enthusiasts or Swirlds Graph enthusiasts or whatever. And I was like, oh, it felt weird. It felt like a word was taken out of the lexicon. When I go to a conference and people are kind of like, hey, what's the difference between, blockchain and this thing? You can always say like, well, there's blockchain and then there's Hashgraph, and Hashgraph is a this or that. And now Hashgraph also means a company. And, I think that there are challenges with that. I mean, like I said, it's good rebrand. I think better than Swirlds Labs, but I do think that there's some thinking that needs to be done as well about how it affects other projects as well, like the Hashgraph DAO working group, the Hashgraph NFT working group, the Hashgraph DeFi Alliance. There's all of these organizations and groups and community initiatives and like stuff like my show that purposefully used the word Hashgraph because it doesn't affiliate you with any organization or any kind of like entity, right? I don't want to be affiliated with, not to say I don't love what Swirlds Labs is doing. I talk to those folks all the time. I think they're fantastic, but it just is like, I don't want to be affiliated with a company. I like the freedom of the show. I like it being about the tech. I like all those different types of things. So definitely, it was a bit of a bummer. Just thinking about it and kind of like, oh, do I change the name of the show? Like thinking through, are people going to think that this show is affiliated with a company or that like this is Hashgraph's show or something like that? It's weird to think about Hashgraph being a company. So anyways, I think that, some examples are be like, what if Google called themselves search engine, or if OpenAI called themselves artificial intelligence? There are certain words that are kind of like neutral territory in the tech space that, I think we should have. I think that 2020, Vision's 2020 looking back, I think that we should think about what that means for the word Hashgraph as something to describe the technology, as something to associate yourself with this network that doesn't corner you into the word HBAR or with a specific organization. So, disclaimer, I'm not affiliated with Hashgraph, the company. This is a show about Hashgraph, the technology, Hashgraph enthusiasts. I hope that doesn't become a thing that I have to do. I don't want to change the name of the show, but it's not like a 0% chance that I'm going to change the name, because I got to be honest. Like, I don't want the name of the show to be misconstrued or anything like that, so a challenge for me to kind of think about and deal with that I wasn't expecting, but it is what it is. So curious to hear other people's thoughts on that, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Also too, good morning. Good to see you, Stein, tuning in. Let me see here. I'd say do not change it unless it actually becomes confusing. I agree. I think that's where my head is at right now. I think that initially when I kind of started thinking about it and chatting with people about it, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to change the name of the show. But I think that now kind of thinking about it, I think I'm okay. I think I'm going to be okay. I just have to see if it becomes confusing in any way. I think that, if I get anybody or get somebody kind of being like, hey, do you work at Hashgraph or something? I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to have to change the name of the show. And that's like so much work. That would just be like the last thing that I want to have to do. It would just be a nightmare. Take a lot of my time away. So it is what it is. Agreed. We're staying the course. Raising the question. So appreciate everyone tuning in. I know it's sometimes it's some folks tuning in for the first time live. The show's live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays right now. So every week tune in. And it's available after, like on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. There's an audio version. There's clips that get published. So check it out. So let's dive into some cool news off the top. And we will be talking about Karate Combat today because that was probably the biggest night in crypto. That was incredible to see. But this was also incredible to see. It's been awesome to watch the retail pays the bills trend kind of kick off. And I know that it probably doesn't make everybody happy to see it. I think it definitely makes people in retail happy to see it. And it's true. Retail pays the bills. Enterprise isn't using the network a ton right now. Not to say that it's a choice between enterprise or retail. It's very clear that retail is a stepping stone to enterprise. But here's Brady from Bonzo Finance, previously Swirlds Labs, now Hashgraph, at Karate Combat, rocking this epic hat, Bonzo shirt, retail pays the bills sign. I thought that was awesome. And you can see, I post this and, 403 likes. And, I think that it's pretty clear that this message rings true to so many different people and is championed by so many different people. So I would say that hop on board the retail pays the bills train, champion it because it's the truth. And I think if you really put the weight behind it, just means more money for Hedera. Also, too, this was very, very cool to see. It's not just about revenue, right? We got to remember there's other things too, like TPS. We're seeing the mainnet rocket up to at sometimes close to 4,000 TPS. Let me just let me see here. Hedera transactions, 2,500 TPS right now. So that's substantial. We're seeing kind of on average, I would say almost like a doubling of TPS. And people might be asking, well, what is that from? It looks like this is from Atma.io. So people were asking on the subreddit what the dealio is. And it does look like the recent TPS, the recent spike in TPS is Atma.io. Which again is Atma.io is a is a subsidized use case, subsidized by the HBAR Foundation. Nothing wrong with that at all. it would be very difficult to get interest around the Hedera network without the TPS that we have. It shows that the network can function at that volume. The question I think a lot of people have is, well, what happens when Atma.io runs out of HBARs supplied by the foundation to use this? Are they going to start buying HBAR themselves? It's a little more complicated than that. I think that Atma.io's customers are going to be paying for that service, and there's other layers to it. So I think the question on everyone's mind is, what happens when Atma.io stops getting HBAR for this use case? I imagine at that time, probably there might be a drop off, but at that time also, I'm hoping that at least before the end of this year, we see more diversified TPS. And it's not a huge deal if TPS drops for a bit. What really matters is diversifying the types of transactions. These transactions are Hedera consensus transactions, which submit messages to a consensus topic on the network. They're very inexpensive. They don't make Hedera a lot of money. But alternatively, NFT transfers, crypto transfers like HBAR, minting, account creation, these different types of things, those make Hedera a considerable, much more amount of money. So basically, if we do see TPS go down, it might not mean that revenue is going down. It might mean revenue is going up. So we just kind of have to see what that balance looks like. But it does seem as though this spike in TPS is largely Atma, but it's not just Atma. Excuse me. It is also Civic Ledger. So we've got LED, community member, always kind of on the pulse with this kind of stuff. It's great to see. But Civic Ledger, this account is printing transactions as well. Not at the rate that Atma.io is doing for sure, but this is a use case that's moving stuff to the mainnet. So it's good to see these use cases going live. I dig it. I like to see it, of course. Let me quickly, there we go. So something else that I think was very interesting for folks is this update from Hashpack. Hashpack obviously is working through their roadmap. They've got their pack token out. And we're starting to get an idea of what is going to be coming, right? So I'd encourage people for sure to continue to dive into this, but we have a little glimpse right now of what's on the horizon for pack token. Governance, ecosystem collaborations, yield opportunities, pack back rewards, UI updates. So obviously there's a bunch of stuff coming, which is very exciting. And then also this Project X thing. To be honest, I have no idea what it is. And Project X is kind of something for the Hashpack community. Someone else pointed out on this, just again, maybe this is like some tinfoil hat stuff, but Project X, Cosmic, I've been seeing his videos out, good stuff. Project X likely symbolizes community growth or new additions to the Hashpack family, just because we've got people here with different things. So looking into it a little bit, but this is very cool stuff. I think people have been looking forward to some more details on what's happening with pack token, and we've seen, that launch was pretty wild, and it grows the portfolio of HTS tokens in the Hedera ecosystem that I think are really gaining traction. So I really love to see it. Sauce token, pack token, Grelf, H Suite, Head Starter, Galaxy. Well, I mean, let's just take a quick look at Saucer Swap. What's going on Saucer Swap? Let's take a look here. My little button switcher has died here real quick. Let me see if it breaks anything, if I unplug it, if I restart it, if I reboot. Let's see. Will this fix it? I wonder if that does it. Because sometimes during the show it dies and it makes it so much harder to do it. Hey, that worked. Okay. Found a fix. I love when you trouble. Oh, did it die again? Hold on. Let me see here. No, it died again. I'll figure it out. So looking at Saucer Swap again, I was just listing random tokens, but like if we go to analytics, Gecko terminal. I mean, look at this. We've got BSL, Sauce, Jam, Dovu, Saucino, DaVinci, Karate, of course, VR Jam, H Suite, Saucino, Steam, Grelf. These are what are these? Version 1 pools, version 2 pools, H Liquidity, Dovu, Pack, right? So we've got like, if I look back on, a year or a year and a half ago, I think that it was really wild to see a DeFi ecosystem at all or a DEX at all. And then now seeing this definitely gets you thinking. And we've been talking on the show a lot about, what do the next steps look like? It's so important to get these HTS listings on other centralized exchanges. But also it's important to get these token pairs listed on other decentralized exchanges on other networks. We have one bridge in the ecosystem. We need more. I mean, I've been rambling on it before, but it's very cool to see nonetheless. We got a couple messages here. Ken, hashtag enthusiast. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to add that one to the list. And I think that's a good option. I mean, again, I was just kind of saying like, I'm at a conference and people in the future, maybe people are like, what's the difference between this and a blockchain? It's like, I say it's a hash graph and they're like, do you mean the company or what is it? So hashtag, that's a very descriptive way to say what the technology is. Maybe that's the name of the show. Hashtag enthusiasts. I don't hate it. To be honest, I don't hate it. What else we got going on here? Hello. Grelf is major. Can't disagree. Can't disagree. We've got some other convos happening in the comments too. If people want to jump into the convo, there's some good stuff happening in the show comments. I'll bring some up on screen. If anyone has any other updates, feel free to share them. Yeah, Ken, I'm using Arc browser. I dig it. The tab is on the side. It's got some good features. I've switched to it from Chrome. I still use Chrome for some things. I have issues streaming in Arc, but otherwise it's good enough. I mean, I'll take it. It's digging. Okay, so what else we got going on? Karate Combat. So really quick, I mean, we're going to talk about Karate Combat later on in the show, of course, but this was just something random just today that I found. So basically, if folks aren't familiar, there was an AI startup that bought friend.com, and it's like it's the same, it's just the rebranded version of I guess it's Avi here. Sandwich Video did an ad. But anyways, it's the ad that everyone's seen and everyone's talking about. And so basically this other AI founder is like, you stole my idea. There's all this drama. Everyone's going crazy. Everyone's in the comments on this. And so ultimately this person that says they got ripped off. Many people suggested us to fight. I'm officially inviting Avi to fight with me. Do you take the offer? So a lot of people say like, oh, the crypto space is crazy. There's a lot of like drama and whatever it might be. But I always say to people, like, you really need to take a look at the AI space. The AI space is just wild. It is truly wild. And they're challenging each other to fights as well. So I tagged Karate Combat and Influencer Fight Club. And it seems as though Karate Combat has said they'll host it. Only LARPing has said, listen, friend versus friend in the pit. Let's host the fight. So imagine if we bridge the AI industry with the crypto industry in the form of a fight. I think that'd be pretty crazy. So, I mean, shout out to these guys. I know that they both hate each other. Maybe this turns out, maybe this is an effective form of dispute resolution. Who knows, but we'll find out. We'll keep everybody posted on that. This was also really unfortunate to see. The Casper Network, they posted, we discovered a significant security breach in the Casper Network. In order to minimize the effects of this security breach, we have worked with the validators to halt the network until the security breach has been patched. We will have further updates as we investigate the situation. And so really the recent news on this now is validators are going to get on a call. They're going to push an update. They'll get the network back online. It's been a couple days. I think that overall, this is something that I just wanted to highlight because it's really important how the HBAR community reacts to stuff like this. Again, it's not a good thing for the Hedera ecosystem for another network like Casper to have issues like this, because it kind of speaks to all networks. And I think it's the incorrect thing to kind of, when moments happen like this with other networks, to kind of be like, hey, HBAR is better, Hedera is better, blah, blah, blah. A reminder that in March this year or last year, the Hedera network proxies were turned off because of a precompile attack. So the network was down for almost 2 days. You couldn't submit transactions to Hedera. You couldn't move HBAR. So we've had issues like this, maybe not as severe, but it's not a situation we want to be in, kicking people while they're down or whatever. So when we see stuff like this, I think that the best thing to do from our community standpoint is like just, like the HBAR bowl here, good luck, appreciate the decisive action, like just being supportive if we can. I think that that's really what it's about. That's what would make it attractive to build here for developers. But anyways, just want to give it a shout out. I hope that the Casper peeps are doing okay. I don't know what they call their community, but shout out. Also, this was a great post by Credible Crypto. I just wanted to highlight it. So there's some kind of arguments going on back and forth about, these different coins, including like Solana, and, Credible Crypto's making comments about how those are inflated. I mean, we've seen the conversations before. And someone kind of calls out Credible Crypto, like, you bull posting XRP and HBAR for their tech is generally one of the wonders of the modern world. And I think Credible Crypto kind of sums it up here in a really great way. And this is why, I think that, I definitely have been more critical these recent months in the Hedera ecosystem. I think that rightfully so, but you do have to keep in mind that there's a lot of initiatives that Hedera and these organizations have been doing that have really paid off in a lot of ways. And it kind of comes into this part here where, again, this is an individual that has just over 400,000 followers, and they've been in the Hedera ecosystem for a long, long time. And also in many other ecosystems. So Credible Crypto has like a very broad, holistic view of the industry. And this sentence right here: if you're curious about real metrics, the cheapest chain of the ones you mentioned above, Hedera. The one processing the most transactions, Hedera. The fastest one, Hedera. The one with the greatest number of transactions processed, Hedera. The one with that is the most efficient green, Hedera. So there are, and I mean, again, we can nitpick and split hairs and different things like that, but this is kind of what's up with that. And these things distilled are really what matters. So yes, you can kind of say like, Atma's subsidized, and when are they going to pay for transactions? We need network revenue, blah, blah, blah. I think we're in a new phase right now where we really kind of have to start putting the pressure on, but where we're at right now isn't a bad place. Like, we're not in like a horrible place. I think that there's decent positioning, but there's more to do. But again, just wanted to highlight that. That's the narrative out there. I mean, it rings true. It's good to see. Another call out really quick on a potential use case that is not on Hedera, but I think kind of speaks to a bit of strategy. This is highlighted by Brady again, Bonzo Finance, previous at Swirlds Labs. I know I'm highlighting Brady a lot on this episode, but he had some really great points over the last week. There's a use case. California Department of Motor Vehicles has digitized 42 million of car titles using the Avalanche network, tapping into blockchain tech, blah, blah, blah. So obviously a really interesting use case for these different types of things. We've seen these different types of use cases and proof of concepts talked about on Hedera. And Brady kind of really hit something interesting where, so in this use case, right, the Avalanche subnets is the architecture. The California DMV has created a private subnet, right, a blockchain that they run, distinct from the Avalanche main chain. but Brady believes it's still interoperable with the main chain. We're not fully sure of that, but his point is the architecture is quite similar to what Hashgraph, aka Swirlds Labs, is doing now, strategically building and creating these kind of semi-private, private DLTs, right? These using Hashgraph. So it's very similar. So when we look at these use cases that we're excited about mainstream adoption, real world assets, blah blah blah, a lot of that also incorporates the use of kind of private networks or semi-private networks that may in fact connect to the main chain or the main net. So that's right in line with, I think, what Hashgraph's been talking about. Man, it's so weird to say that on the show. What Swirlds Labs is talking about. And it's just an interesting point to raise that I think, that might not be a bad strategy. But again, I do think, it'll be good to get a better view on as well what they're doing with the public network, if there's any more kind of like big vision stuff there. Also, too, SEC, there's a little bit of government news here. So the SEC has retracted its request for the court to classify tokens like Solana, Cardano, and Polygon as securities in its lawsuit against Binance. So basically what this means is to a point, the SEC is saying like, hey, all that stuff we said about these tokens being securities and this and that, we take it back. And so that's very interesting. And this comes on top of a letter from U.S. Democrats. They wrote to the Democratic National Committee in the U.S. Asking to shift away from the anti-Bitcoin stance. So there's definitely some moves happening from a U.S. government standpoint of softening a little bit on crypto in general, which is interesting to see. And I think that is something that's going to be really interesting. Ken left an interesting comment here. I want to look this up because I saw this post. Can't believe I didn't have it on my docket for the show. I'm going to talk about one of your posts as well, Ken. So this is really interesting. Yeah. So Toshi Protocol, this is what Ken's working on. He's doing some spaces as well. I'd encourage anyone to kind of tune into Ken's spaces, but this is what's up. Toshi is a kind of gaming, product that allows games to leverage blockchain technology, aka Hedera, and handle a lot of stuff like anti-cheating, and the transfer of value. So definitely some really innovative stuff happening there. There's a lot of great content too here. But when we talk about gaming, this is going to be a very, very interesting one to watch. It's a protocol built by, again, this is one of those stories that I get excited about because, Ken down there, he's been in the Hedera ecosystem for a long time, with, Kabuto, the HBAR Foundry, like all these different types of things. So he's been building on Hedera for a long time. And I believe one of the early members of the Hedera team, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, let's plug the website. But anyways, if you want to talk about OG HBARbarians, Ken's one of them. I mean, if Ken isn't one of them, I don't know who is. And here's somebody that's now branching outside of the Hedera ecosystem to a different ecosystem, building a novel technology that leverages Hedera. So there's all sorts of different exciting things happening when we look at retail growing tentacles into other areas. Like these are the types of things that I think are very, very important to see. So shout out to Tashi, shout out to Ken. Love to see it. Really love to see it. Also too, quick shout out. I saw that Zeus Market, let me see here. Zeus Market. Yeah. So, any kind of, again, we're talking about OG people. The original Hedera NFT marketplace, I believe, from years ago is now gonzo. Zeus Market is now offline. So I do believe, there were some people, good morning, Zach. There were some people that were kind of like, take your listings off of Zeus, The site might go down, blah, blah, blah. So there's, I think, a bit of fear out there of like your NFT listings on Zeus. What happened to those now that you can't log into the website? I don't know if I'm 100% correct on this, but I just as a observation of my own, I do think that how Zeus Market handled listings was token allowances or something like that, spending allowances or something in your wallet. And I do think in Hashpack wallet, maybe a few other wallets, there's an account settings area where you can manage those allowances or associations or whatever it might be. So what I would do is if you are concerned about listings on Zeus or whatever, reach out to support for those wallets. They'll probably already have some answers for you on that. And I think that you can control that kind of stuff from the wallet side. You don't necessarily need to go into the Zeus website. I don't think so. Just, aware, that marketplace is down. I know a lot of people have, NFTs listed on there. I know NFTs are very important for people. So, just a note for anybody, that was using Zeus. This was also an interesting tweet that I pulled out. And it, brought a question into my mind. So this was kind of on the news of the spike in TPS that kind of we were talking about, right? Now TPS on Hedera is like higher than it's ever been before. It's touching 4,000 transactions per second sometime. It's, really kind of exciting. And we know that it's ATMA still, right? So these are subsidized transactions as far as we know. We don't know anything otherwise. And a good question was raised by Jay on X. They say, still confused about Hyundai and Kia. When it was first announced, I asked if it was live. Christian Hasker, who previously was marketing at Swirlds Labs, Christian Hasker responded to say yes, but there was no noticeable uptick in transactions. Now we hear they're onboarding their supply chain partners, so maybe that will generate a noticeable increase. And I know that a month ago, Eric Brissini, on a video interview with Genfinity, mentioned that the Hyundai use case was live. He spoke to this as well. He was talking about transactions moving through the mainnet. So we don't have a lot of information on that. But from what it would appear to me, it's kind of been hypothesized by, both people in leadership at these organizations in the community that the Hyundai use case would be like a high throughput use case potentially. So if this transaction increase is from Atma, unless Hyundai is utilizing Atma, it doesn't seem like this is anything to do with the Hyundai stuff. So it calls into question, like, when is that Hyundai use case going to be going live? It doesn't seem like it's fully live yet, so we'll have to see. We don't have a lot of clarity on that, but just an interesting comment that kind of stuck out to me. Also, big news. Very, very excited to see this. Bonzo Finance has cleared the hurdle for their audit with Halborn. And this is very, very cool. You can go in and you can look at the audit reports for the various contracts. So this is the staking contract. And again, what will happen is the auditing company will highlight different issues that are either critical, medium, low, or informational. And then they will note when the project took care of those issues. So with Bonzo, there was 2 critical issues, 1 medium issue and 2 low issues. They were all resolved. So this is what an audit is for, right? They go into deep detail about the code and architecture and all these different types of things, mostly smart contracts. So this is a very, very important step for Bonzo Finance. Also, this was the audit for the finance contracts. So there were, let's see here, 4 critical, 1 medium, and 1 low issue resolved, right? So you can, seeing these types of things builds trust for sure. So those are complete. So this was a major milestone for Bonzo Finance. I've had Brady on the show a few times. I think I've had Garang on the show as well. And yeah, this is exciting stuff. Borrowing and lending coming to Hedera. And there's also like serial finance, there's H liquidity, there's all these different types of things. And borrowing and lending is so important for DeFi on Hedera because when we look at traditional economies, just like, the American economy, most of it is debt, borrowing and lending, right? And when we look at crypto and the crypto industry overall, the DeFi space, I think that borrowing and lending contributes to like more than 40% of TVL. So this is going to be really big for Hedera, borrowing and lending in general. So I think this is going to be really, really cool. A shout out to Tashi from Bones. Yeah, I mean, gaming is another area that's I think going to be growing. We don't know what the ceiling looks like on gaming yet, so it's very exciting stuff. Zach asked a question: isn't there some way to trace who is doing transactions? Yes, there are. So, for example, it's very easy to see if we look at all the transactions being pushed to the main net. We say there's let's say there's 3,500 TPS. We can go to an explorer like Hashscan, and we can see all the different transactions. We can see what accounts are submitting those transactions, and then go, okay, this account, and this account are submitting these transactions. So yes, you can see which accounts are submitting transactions, but the issue is then who holds those accounts. There's no way of knowing. So there really isn't a way of knowing who actually is submitting transactions unless there is an entity that officially discloses, or if there is a way in which to confirm. So for example, the identity of the accounts that submit transactions to the topic ID for Atma.io, those have all kind of been disclosed, either through research by the community, Avery Dennison themselves, the HBAR Foundation, whatever it might be, which brings transparency, of course. But then there's other things like all the other transactions. There is no built-in way to kind of see like, oh, here's transactions from Dell, here's transactions from IVM, here's transactions from so and so, here's transactions from Saucer Swap. It's like you do have to make those connections, and in some cases, projects do need to disclose those accounts to know who it is. So if you don't know who owns or holds the account, then you don't really know who it's coming from, but you can at least track what account is submitting those transactions. Now, let's take a look at something else. This last thing here. I was kind of looking forward to seeing this, but I was busy at 9:20 a.m. Eastern. I was out for a walk. I had to do some stuff. I had to run some errands, so I wasn't able to tune into this live. This was from, I guess, FinTech TV Global, and they had Charles Atkins on, the president of Hedera. Very cool. They're live from the New York Stock Exchange during the opening bell. So that's really, really cool. I asked around, I can't find a clip for it. I went on the FinTech TV website. By the way, this website is like completely jacked. But there's all these like clips on here. So I guess we're going to see it tomorrow, I guess. But again, when we talk about marketing in the space, it's like, where can I watch it on X? I want to share this clip of the president of Hedera. I want to like check it out. I wanted to show it on the show, but like it just doesn't exist. So, and also too, like I like the YouTube channel for this, I mean, like these recent videos, 29 views, 156 views. So, I mean, it's like, it is what it is. I want to see the clip. I want to check it out. I think it would be cool to see. But, whatever it is. If anyone has the recording, if anyone has the clip, send it. I want to check it out. So some folks that tuned in live said there wasn't like anything super new. Again, I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see. Okay, so we're going to talk about marketing stuff now and karate combat. But first, I just want to say like thank you to everyone for watching, for tuning in. Going to be doing some exciting stuff with the show soon. I know I've talked about streaming to LinkedIn as well. I got some feedback on that I think that there are definitely some people that want the show to be live streamed on LinkedIn. So I think that's going to happen. So it'll be live streamed to YouTube, X, and LinkedIn at the same time. Going to be doing some updates to the formatting and everything. I've been so busy at Hgraph. So I'm going to be doing some kind of upgrades to the show this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, just like huge shout out to everyone tuning in. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you guys. I remember even a year ago, I'd have like 30, 50 people listening to the show on Twitter Spaces. And now, we've got almost 200 people listening live here, which is crazy. So, I mean, the show just keeps growing and growing, which is amazing. And again, just supported by people listening, sending HBAR to a wallet. I sell the HBAR. I buy stuff like this for the show. That's kind of what makes it work. So really, really, really appreciate it, everybody. So yeah, let's talk marketing. And this is about Karate Combat and also about a video I posted on Friday. I posted a video on Friday after kind of thinking on stuff. Oh my God, these subtitles on X are crazy. So I posted this video, some thoughts on Hedera marketing last night. And basically my take on it was, in the video was just kind of like Karate Combat that happened Thursday evening was just mind blowing. It felt like every influencer, every important person in crypto, Hawk Tua Girl, the fighters. On the last one, even before that, Joe Rogan showed up. There was political candidates, RFK showing up. Like there was these high profile people that were posting stuff from Karate Combat that were getting millions of impressions and hundreds of thousands of likes. And like, it was just massive. It was this huge moment, and Hedera Retail embraced it. I showed the sign with Brady. Bonzo Finance was there. Earthlings was there. Twidgetal was there. The HBAR Bull was like doing a bunch of stuff to help out. And there's just so much groundswell support. And so I think that the community like just knocked it out of the water when it came to Karate Combat, which was incredible. But the thing is as the night was going on, and as I was kind of enjoying everything that was happening, I was kind of looking, I was kind of like, wait a minute, I haven't seen any tweets or posts on X from Hedera, which was kind of weird because I was like, literally like this is built on Hedera. Karate Combat is like the coolest use case we have. We're watching mass adoption happen right before our eyes. It's the biggest night in crypto. Everyone's there. Like it was just crazy. You can't even list all the people that were there. And I was looking at the Hedera account, and all night, really like there was nothing kind of happening. And I just and not even like, and I'm not even talking just posts to their account, like even just replying to some of those tweets or like having anything to say. And that evening, like before I went to bed, I checked the Hedera account again because I just couldn't believe that they weren't like part of this moment that like is huge. And there was still nothing. And I was just like, what the heck? So I felt like saying something that night, but then I was like, you know what? I'll give it the night, whatever it is. Woke up in the morning, and the only thing that was shared was just a simple, like basic repost of the live stream that had ended. That, by the way, has over 4.5 million views. So it was one of those things that like, I was kind of like, well, why? Like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is like the huge thing. Like, I also, have, criticized like the marketing at the event from Hedera, like with the advertisement and this and that. I mean, if you've been listening to me, you've heard me ramble on about that. But anyways, like I posted this video talking about it, and essentially like my concern is that watching mass adoption happen right before our eyes and seeing this the biggest night in crypto unfold, and just Hedera like not leveraging it really in any way. Like that main Hedera account at Hedera is so important for our ecosystem, because that's the main touch point for a lot of people coming in. When they discover the network, they definitely go, well, what is the network? I want to follow it. Same as like the Solano account or the, Algorand account or the whatever it might be. I was just kind of blown away a little bit. And then you expand upon it and you're like, Manson Lehman didn't say anything and the CMO didn't say anything. And it was just kind of weird. And I was like, well, is this what happens when we have like a massive use case, mass adoption, huge event happening, and there's no plan? I would have expected at least just a message, like, not even like just Hedera maybe saying like, great night, like shout out to the Karate Combat team, everything's going well, or this, maybe something just really even simpler, like, what a knockout evening or whatever, just type something, but they couldn't even do that. It was just hit the retweet button with nothing. So it was just kind of weird. And to me, and I don't like thinking this way, but my brain was like, what's going on with Hedera marketing? Because that's really what we've got to be doing. Like, we've got to be on top of that stuff. Ken, I know. And yeah, there was a lot of different stuff happening. Like, for example, we look at an account like Autism Capital, love them or hate them. I mean, 310,000 views. They're kind of like the tongue in cheek, account that gets a ton of engagement, right? Like, they're talking about, RFK at Karate Combat taking a selfie. And then they say stuff like, we have no idea what the hell Karate Combat is, but it's an absolute shit show disaster. It's hilarious, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of awesome, to be honest. So there's like this is like the chaotic crypto energy that a lot of people gravitate around. And, it's just, these are things to leverage. You can't buy marketing like this. It's just great. And it's just, these are like the Hedera account, or somebody should be in here engaging with this and carrying on the conversation and leaning into it. Like, this is where the magic happens. And it's great to see, the community jumping in, but again, it's the community jumping in, to kind of make that happen. And also too, we've got, the Huck to a Girl in the audience chilling out. Again, huge engagement, community members in there. And it's kind of like Hedera is kind of MIA. This is crazy. Like, this is so many eyeballs on this. And again, the Hedera technology, enabling all of this. And so I just kind of found it weird. And it was like, it got me thinking about Hedera marketing and different things like that. And I honestly get really concerned, about it. And so we got a comment here from Martin. There's nothing much to market on Hedera for retail to get excited about. No real staking rewards, no airdrops, and especially no real DeFi ecosystem to promote. I mean, that's a criticism for sure. I would disagree that there's not much. I think that there is actually quite a bit. I mean, we've got Saucer Swap, we've got Bonzo Finance coming, we've got Hashpack, we've got like another great example is, I think it's to your point, Martin, it's also just missed opportunity. Like, for example, the official meme coin of Karate Combat was Bonk, right? Big logo, glowing logo at the top. Yes, we got the Hedera logo in the ring, but with sporting events, it's like, this replay brought to you by Bonzo Finance. There's an official car company there's a Karate Combat partnered with DeLorean as the official luxury car brand partnership of Karate Combat. I don't know. Why isn't there an official DEX of Karate Combat, right? Maybe it's a DEX on Hedera. Why isn't there an official wallet of Karate Combat? Why isn't there an official borrowing and lending of, like, they're a crypto project. They want to kind of do those things. They want those sponsorships. In sporting, you see it all the time, like the replay or the segment or whatever brought to you by so-and-so. It's like Karate Combat's going to want money for that placement. Why not have one of the organizations or foundations foot that bill and, kill two birds with one stone. It's like great exposure for these projects on Hedera, stick with the built on Hedera theme, all that kind of stuff. So there's so many different ways we can go. And I totally understand how complex that can be and different things like that. And that's not really my point. My point is really just, why did like Hedera not post at least like a tweet as it was happening, congratulating the community or congratulating Karate Combat or whatever it might be? That was more so kind of what my kind of point was with the video I posted. And it's just, again, it was just weird. It was a symptom, I think, to a larger issue. And I don't think, and again, maybe I'll frame this a different way, right? Maybe I'll frame this a different way. Let's get away from retail for a minute. Okay. Let's get away from retail and let's talk about maybe enterprise for a minute. Hedera and Lehman and Mance often talk about the fact that there will be major enterprise use cases that go live that they don't know about beforehand because it's an open permissionless network to write to and all that kind of stuff. So they, might not know when, for example, let's say Microsoft, right, launches a use case on Hedera, strictly hypothetically, that is pushing, 10,000 TPS or something, right? And it just goes, oh, here we are, open. Microsoft makes a post about the use case. Maybe they don't mention Hedera. What I would do is if I was Hedera or whoever's in charge of the marketing for Hedera, I would go, okay, step one, right away, right now, drop everything. Can we verify that this is a use case that's leveraging Hedera? It's not that hard to do. We can figure it out. As I was talking before, we can go and hash scan. We can look for accounts. We can reach out to Microsoft. We can be like, hey, are you using our technology? We can look through their manual or their paper or whatever it is, find that, verify that. Great, it's a project on us. Maybe that could happen within an hour or two. Then we could engage with that post that Microsoft made launching their product. And we could kind of, have the Hedera account kind of say, this is so exciting. You don't even have to say like built on Hedera, this is leveraging Hedera technology. You can just literally just engage. You can have the Hedera account say, this is awesome. Make that little connection. The community will look at that and go, oh, wow, Microsoft did this. Hedera gave a thumbs up. Is it using Hedera? It is. And it's like creates that momentum. And then you can start making content about that. You can start doing these types of things. And again, I'm not talking about retail. I'm talking about enterprise. And when you talk about growing the customer base of Hedera, growing Hedera's revenue, getting more enterprise customers, you have to elevate your current customers, right? And that's an example in retail. And so for me, I get nervous and I get worried seeing what happened with Karate Combat because I kind of go, is Hedera capable of that stuff? Because it's required not just in crypto, but it is required in just the startup space in general, right? Hedera is not a Fortune 500 company. Hedera is a startup and they gotta operate like a startup. And so that's just kind of what I'm getting at is this is a signal that something isn't quite jiving. And there's huge opportunity here that's not that hard to capture, right? We're just talking about interacting on Twitter, right? We're just talking about sending a couple tweets. It really is things that might take an hour or more of due diligence in some cases and really a couple minutes. Posting some stuff. And I know that there are concerns about what gets posted, if it breaks the rules, if it breaks regulations or whatever it is. And to be honest, I don't think that an organization should be in a situation where like somebody that's not in marketing can go on a, Slack or whatever and be like, this tweet's bad, take it down. And it gets taken down, right? I think that you do have to have a creative authority especially a startup that can fire from the hip, engage, create a bit of a vibe, have a personality. It is possible. Like for example, Van Eck, which is a financial institution that was founded in 1955. They've got an NFT as their profile photo. They're embracing crypto. They're seeing a lot of great engagement. They're growing their brand. It's possible. I mean, it's possible for institutions to have a marketing strategy that both is very fast and rapid and has a degen quality to it that can both attract retail, but also give enterprises what they want. Enterprises want to build on networks that are, enterprises want to build on networks that have users, right? Enterprises are telling Hedera, you need more TVL, you need more retail activity, you need more users. So that's just the way that it is. People ask, like, why do enterprises build on Polygon and not Hedera? Why do enterprises build on Ethereum or Solana and not Hedera? It's like, because people are over there. That's what the deal is. And so I think that is kind of what we have to do. And, Martin responds here. Crypto investors are either purists, they never make money, or degens that gamble their life savings on DeFi. We need to focus entirely on the degens or we will lose to lesser chains. That's a way of putting it. And again, it's part of that reality check that it's not about enterprise versus retail. That's a myth. It's much more the way that the president of Hedera, Charles Atkins, articulated it on an X Spaces, and I reference this a lot, is that retail is a stepping stone to enterprise. Enterprise or retail leads the way. And when I say retail, I mean like startups, projects, indie developers, hackers, those types of things. Those are what leads the industry. And then those projects get acquired by enterprise. Those enterprises use that technology. So I think that's kind of important to keep in mind. And again, like, there's some other great things that happen at Karate Combat. Like, if you want to talk about ROI, check this out. This is what I'm talking about. This is the proof in the pudding. This is an interview with probably one of the biggest 15 minutes of fame people, Hawk to a Girl, in front of the Karate Combat logo, the Earthlings logo, the Twigital logo, like Bonzo Finance logo. Like, hello, look at this. Look at that. This is what's called awareness and exposure. This has this post has 840,000 views, 5,000 likes. And the reality is there's 10, 20, 50 more of these with these Hedera project logos in them. So what I would say is thank God that those banners were there, that people got those booths set up, that these projects were present at that event. The work that the HBAR Bull and other folks put into it, like, that stuff is so important. Crypto Dad, you Google it. So that's what I'm talking about here. This is the other side to the coin, and this is why we talk about retail paying the bills. Who's bringing the eyeballs to Hedera? Retail. Hedera is just not talking about it. Hedera has nothing to say about this night in Karate Combat. When I say Hedera, I mean the Hedera X account. And, people might say, like, well, this isn't something Hedera should be talking about. This is for the foundations or whatever. But, like, yes, they should be. There should be a personality behind the Hedera account. It should be contributing to the growth of the network, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, just wanted to share my thoughts on that, my disappointment with whoever's in charge of Hedera marketing, and the need for change. Because if this is the way in which we go about embracing new use cases, mass adoption, all sorts of exciting stuff, to be honest, we're screwed. Straight up. Like, if this happens again, alarm bells really have to start going off. And when I say this, what I mean is, again, if there's another, for example, Karate Combat evening where, like, Joe Biden shows up and Joe Rogan's there and, Bill Hader comes and, Hawk to a Girl comes back over and, like, celebrities come, like Seth Rogen or whatever. And, like, Billy McFarlane is fighting, or these two AI founders are fighting or whatever. It's like, boom, eyeballs, vibes, huge things, so much engagement, so many numbers. And it's like, if Hedera is silent again on that, the Hedera Twitter account is silent on that and can't participate in the fun, have nothing to say about it. It's like, what are we going to do, when it comes to just celebrating use cases being built on the network? I don't know why it is. So I think that's really where my head is at right now, is like, clearly there's a symptom to a problem here. It's pretty clear to everybody. It's a big issue. What do we do about it? Why is it happening? And how can we prevent it from happening again? What can we do to wake up the Hedera brand? And again, I think that to play devil's advocate, I think that it's not like people at these organizations and leadership and all that kind of stuff aren't aware of that issue. I think it's just what is being done to resolve it, because it does feel like we're kind of getting nowhere with that kind of stuff. It feels like this Karate Combat was worse than the last one from a Hedera perspective, from their Twitter account. And there was a lot of call to action. So where do we go from here? What's the plan? What do we do? What do we think about this? I mean, let me know your thoughts and everything like that. But those are my thoughts. I mean, I shared the video on Friday. That's just kind of where my head is at. It's both, in the negative headspace of like, man, does Hedera have the capability to take advantage of opportunities? They're showing that they don't really in a lot of those ways. But then on the other side, it's like, I mean, we've got one of the best retail communities out there. I think that retail alone will carry us. Like, I'm so bullish on that. And I think that overall, I think that evening was probably one of the finest hours of this ecosystem. Not only did the Karate Combat team knock it out of the water, not only did random community members everywhere participate, not only did we see growth, not only did like the app have a great experience, the people enjoyed it, celebrities were there, like all that kind of stuff. I think that overall, just absolutely incredible. Like, message was received, the community leveled up by 10, and like literally going to the event, like just next level. So overall, I think it's super promising and super awesome. I just think that there is definitely an alarming and frightening symptom from the marketing standpoint from Hedera that was evident that night. So just wrapping up my thoughts on this, I wanted to just share a couple like little, I mean, honestly, straight up, not a horrible idea, right? Tuagraph, Hawkgraph, Tuagraph. There's something there. I wanted to just share just on the marketing stuff. I wanted to kind of just wrap this up into some examples of this. There is no other organization that is more enterprise than Oracle, right? If I were to say the word enterprise to you, you would go, okay, IBM, Oracle, like these enterprise companies. Oracle is just like one of the most enterprises out there. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, says, or didn't say, but this is from Larry Ellison's biography. Larry put marketing first and everything else second. Average technology and good marketing is better than good technology and average marketing every day. That's just, again, and this is coming from the founder of the most enterprise-ish enterprise ever. So if that doesn't speak volumes in regards to where Hedera's priorities should be, this is where it's at. Also, this was an interesting thing. And again, these are just my background's in marketing as well, right? Like I, have run like a little agency and I've been in marketing a lot of times. I currently work as director of communications for Hashgraph, a mirror node provider. So this is kind of my wheelhouse a little bit. This was just another interesting thing that, again, just a little bit of a tangent marketing kind of stuff, just to add some social proof to some of the points I'm saying. This was also an article from Nike. Folks should kind of go read, but basically, I'll just kind of read this really quickly. This individual posts, even if you're not in marketing, you should read this post from the former CMO of Nike. It details Nike's transition from a brand-driven demand creation engine to a data-driven performance direct-to-consumer model. The results, after the release of Nike's Q2 2024 financial results, they lost $25 billion market cap in a day. So here's the excerpt from the previous marketing guy at Nike with his critique on the new strategy. Nike invested a material amount of dollars, billions, into something that was less effective, but easier to measure. And this is a huge problem in enterprise. Everybody's always focused on measuring so much stuff, but especially in crypto, some of the most effective campaigns you can run, you cannot quantify, you cannot measure. Like we saw with Karate Combat. Who knew that, all of these celebrities would be like interviewed in front of project logos on Hedera. You cannot predict that. How do you measure that? No idea. You can add up the impressions from that, whatever. So obviously huge opportunity. How do you take advantage of it? You have to create some kind of narrative around it, but you can't do that. Like in my mind, just putting my marketing hat on, what I would do in this situation is I would go, there's a story here. You could take a clip of Lehman. I'm just thinking about this. You could take a clip of Lehman saying, everyone's going to be using, this technology without even realizing it. That's happening right now. Like Karate Combat is the best example of that. It's this high impact use case built on Hedera that so many people are using that they don't even realize they're using Hedera. Not only that, they're standing in front of logos of things that they think are super cool that they also have no idea they're built on Hedera. Like that's happening. It's magical. And so you can create a story about that and you can kind of fold back to that quote from Lehman. And imagine if Hedera posted a video of that clip of Lehman that was like, people are going to use Hedera and they won't even realize it, and showing some of that and showing the narrative of like, it's true. This is now the truth. It's out there. People are using it. They're getting value from it. Everybody's seeing it everywhere. There's no idea it's happening, but you can fold that into a story, and you have to have that kind of, marketing expertise on that. And so continuing on, right, they say Nike invested billions of dollars into something that was less effective but easier to measure versus something that was more effective but less easy to measure. In conclusion, an impressive waste of money. So that's the other risk, right? You can spend a lot of money on marketing campaigns that you can count little numbers and, make nice little reports. But what it comes down to is awareness and things that sometimes you just cannot measure. So anyways, just random ideas. Also too, a last quick example, just right from the tech space. Peter Thiel, obviously founder of PayPal, investor, controversial figure, but a quote from his famous book, 0 to 1. This is a great quote that I think kind of speaks to this, which is, most businesses get 0 distribution channels to work. Poor sales rather than bad product is most common cause of failure. If you can get just 1 distribution channel to work, you have a great business. If you try for several but don't nail one, you're finished. So that's another perspective on this from the technology business. And distribution can come in the form of how your product is distributed to potential customers, right? So the Hashgraph or the network or HBAR or whatever it is. You have to just get 1 distribution channel right and you're ahead of the competition versus trying a bunch and not nailing any of them. And when I talk about distribution channels, obviously we're talking about trading pairs on centralized exchanges for HBAR or more bridges or whatever it might be. If we can figure out how to really amplify these types of things, Hedera can win as an ecosystem. But as we know, again, we do have that kind of distribution problem. We often talk about what do we have to do to remove barriers for people coming into the network? What can we leverage? And so there's all this capital out there that needs to be put to work and all this desire for marketing. The blueprints are there. The playbooks are there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to go look at, great companies, look at what they do, and, just vibe it a little bit. One last great insight is from actually Apple. I mean, I can't talk about marketing without talking about Apple. This was Mike Merkel was kind of like the marketing guy for Apple. He had a bit of a manifesto, and there were 3 key points in it that I think I just wanted to highlight as well. And one area that I think Hedera is struggling in is, so part 1 is empathy. So this is kind of the 3 pillars of Apple's marketing strategy from 1977 onwards. So Apple should strive for an intimate connection with customers' feelings. We truly understand their needs better than any other company. So again, Apple is a obviously consumer product company. They're not a distributed ledger technology company, but I think these things still hold true, right? And what that translates to for Hedera is, can Hedera understand the users of the network better than anybody else? That's key. I don't think that that's true. Point number 2, focus. To be successful, Apple should center, and you can replace the word Apple with Hedera, right? To be successful, Hedera should center its efforts on accomplishing its main goals and eliminate all of the unimportant opportunities. And that's key, right? So when we look at main goals, revenue, growing users, growing TVL. Ignore everything else, right? What is most important, right? What rings most true? What is enterprise asking for? Focus on those small handful of things, nail them. And then I think this is the weakest area for Hedera, right? Imputing, pillar number 3. And I'll just replace the word Apple with Hedera, right? Hedera should be constantly aware that companies and their products will be judged by the signals they convey, right? People do judge a book by its cover. Merkle wrote, we may have the best product, the highest quality, the most useful software, etc. If we present them in a slipshod manner, they will be perceived as slipshod. If we present them in a creative, professional manner, we will impute the desired qualities. So that's the other aspect of this, is you can't just say you've got the best thing. Apple can't just say they have the best computer. They have to impute that. They have to literally present it in a way that demonstrates the quality of that computer. So if you want to demonstrate that your network is, enterprise grade or ready for retail or better for retail than other networks, you have to also market better than other retail networks. That's just the way it is. The book is judged by the cover. And right now, Hedera, I think, has the best book in the game, but the cover is, again, blank, right? The night of the karate combat stuff, like that right there, biggest night on, like if a book is a story, right? What's the story there? Biggest night in crypto. Everybody's there. It's built on Hedera, just blowing it out of the water. Arguably one of the most exciting use cases in the entire industry. What a great book. Blank cover, right? No one's going to pick it up off the shelf. And it's a shame because they're missing out on a lot. So what can be done to right the ship with marketing? Because, I'm not going to mince words with that stuff. I do have a marketing background, and it's a shame to see that stuff. I do think that there's more that can be done. And I do think that whatever strategy in place or whoever's driving it needs to really kind of pick their head up and kind of look at some of these principles, look at some of these opportunities, and really kind of get serious about it and remove some barriers. I do think that there are barriers to getting this content out. So, bit my tongue a little bit there. So, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap all this up. The question, do I change the name of the show? Not for now. Not for now. I don't think it needs to be done. But I do think that if I get in a situation where people, start thinking I'm affiliated with Hashgraph, the company, I'm going to have to rethink that. And that would be the biggest pain in my ass possible, which I'm hoping not to have happen. Because I think that this show, I put a lot of work into it. And I think it brings a lot of value to folks in the ecosystem. So it's just like, what can we do to make people's lives easier? So anyways, Hashgraph enthusiasts, maybe it's one of those things too, where when Twitter changed their name to X, a lot of people refuse to call it X. Maybe I just keep calling it Swirlds Labs. Maybe I just keep referring to Hashgraph as Swirlds Labs. I think I'm going to have to on the show because honestly, it's just too confusing. If I'm talking about a news story and it involves Swirlds Labs or whatever, and I have to say Hashgraph, it's too confusing for my brain, to be honest. It's too much. I'll have to come up with some other way to say it. Oh, okay. Hedera Hashgraph obsessed H2O. Okay. That's kind of cool. I'll dig it. Yeah. So with that, lots of big stories today. I mean, we talked about a lot of updates from the ecosystem. I think that there's a lot of good stuff happening. Big focus today on the Karate Combat night. I think that it can't be understated how huge Karate Combat is. I mean, I'm not huge into fighting. I mean, I don't watch UFC, but when we talk about people actually using this technology and getting value out of it, this is one of those use cases where it's like, I think that there is a lot of people in other ecosystems pointing to Karate Combat as like, hey, here's the proof. Can we build something like this on our network? And to be honest, you know. I imagine Karate Combat might be getting, you know, letters and notes from all other networks wanting them to migrate from Hedera. Hedera's got to start showing some love during those fights, during those big nights. It's a shame. So I'd love to see what they can do to make that happen. If it is an issue where it takes too long to get out, or if legal's too overbearing or whatever, it's like, maybe you just got to really plan ahead. Maybe come up with like a library of messages pre-approved that you can use and fire at will, or whatever it might be. I don't know. I just don't get it. There's no reason for it. There's no logical reason for it. There are no regulations preventing Hedera from engaging like that. There's nothing standing in their way, other than there's nothing external to Hedera standing in their way. There's just only kind of things internal. So I think that is very important to keep in mind. So marketing, all that kind of good stuff, and a lot of good topics we talked about today. Appreciate all the comments too from people watching. It's kind of funny now that I'm live streaming on video. It's like there's like 2 shows happening. You know, like there's like dozens and dozens of comments like happening during the show of all these other kind of secondary conversations. I'm reading them. I'm like, it's very, very cool. So appreciate everyone tuning in. Yeah, I'm gonna go have some lunch, take it easy, get back to work. I got a bunch of cool stuff I'm working on. I'm doing some stuff for the hackathon, Hello Future Hackathon. Shout out. If you haven't entered the hackathon, do it. It'll be a lot of fun. With that, appreciate everybody. Another week is still in the works. It's only Wednesday. Who's going to be the next governing council member? Will we get to 5-figure TPS? Will the price of HBAR go up? We will find out. We will find out. I'm going to watch that clip of Charles Atkins on that show too. Shout out Coin Man. And with that, hello future, goodbye past.
Thanks for listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, hosted by Brandon Davenport.
Listen to past episodes and support the show at itsbrandond.com/hbar.